Have you ever wondered why you react to certain situations almost automatically? Maybe you overthink everything. Maybe you always expect the worst. Or maybe you have tried to break a habit, but somehow you keep going back to the same old pattern. Sometimes it can feel like, well, I guess that is just who I am. But what if it isn't? What if your brain is actually capable of changing? Hi, my name is Adria. Here, we will talk about building a better life, creating better habits, and figuring things out together. I will also share my thoughts with you just like I would with my best friend. So, welcome to my channel. I hope you will feel comfortable here, relate to my story, and that we can grow together and build a better life. And today we are talking about something I find absolutely fascinating: neuroplasticity. Basically, the idea that your brain isn't completely fixed. And no, I am not talking about some think positive for 5 minutes and completely rewire your brain type of thing. The real science is actually much more interesting. Let's start with the basics. Your brain is made up of billions of neurons that communicate with each other. And the interesting thing is, these connections aren't necessarily permanent. Your experiences, what you learn, and what you repeatedly do can influence how these connections work. That is what we mean when we talk about neuroplasticity. Think about learning something completely new. Maybe you are learning a language. At first, everything feels confusing. You have to think about every single word. But after practicing again and again, something changes. Eventually, you don't have to think quite as hard. It starts to feel more natural. And that is not just you getting used to it. Your nervous system is adapting to what you are repeatedly doing. Scientists have found many different forms of this kind of plasticity. For example, the strength of connections between neurons can change. And one process researchers study is called long term potentiation, or LTP. The name sounds complicated, but the basic idea is pretty simple. Certain patterns of activity can make some synaptic connections stronger. So, when you learn and practice something, your brain isn't just storing information like a file on your computer, it's actually adapting. You have probably heard people talk about rewiring your brain. And honestly, I like that phrase because it gives us a pretty good picture of what is happening. But when scientists talk about neuroplasticity, the progress is a little more complicated than simply creating a new pathway and deleting an old one. Your brain is constantly adapting. Some connections between neurons can become stronger, others can become weaker. And with learning and experience, the structure of neural networks can change over time. Think about learning something for the first time. At the beginning, it might feel awkward and require a lot of concentration. But as you keep practicing, it can start to feel more natural. That is because your nervous system is adapting to that repeated experience. One process involved in shaping neural connections is called synaptic pruning. Basically, as neural circuits develop and change, some connections can be eliminated while others are strengthened or maintained. And this isn't only about childhood. The adult brain also remains capable of plastic changes. Researchers are also studying activity dependent myelination, a process where neural activity can influence changes in the myelin surrounding nerve fibers. Myelin helps signals travel efficiently through the nervous system. So, when we say rewire your brain, it's not literally like opening your brain's settings and installing a new version. I wish it I wish it were that easy. It's really about your brain adapting to what you repeatedly do, learn, and experience. And that is what makes neuroplasticity so interesting. You don't need a magic brain hack. You need experience, practice, and time. Now, here is where this gets practical. Because knowing that your brain can change is interesting, But what are we actually supposed to do with that information? I want to give you three simple principles that are informed by what we know about learning, plasticity, and emotional regulation. 1. Notice your patterns. Imagine you get a text, "Can we talk later?" And immediately your brain goes, "Oh my god, what did I do?" We have all been there. Before you react, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, what am I assuming right now? You don't have to force the thought away. You don't have to tell yourself, everything is amazing. Just notice what is happening. Because sometimes the first thought that pops into your head is a reaction, not a fact. 2. Reframe the thought. Here is another thing you can practice: reframing. Instead of immediately believing the most negative interpretation, try looking at the situation from another angle. For example, "I failed, so I am terrible at this" could become, "I failed this time. What can I learn from it?" See the difference? We are not lying to ourselves. We are not saying everything is perfect when it obviously isn't. We are just trying to find a more realistic and useful way to look at what is happening. And this is where cognitive reappraisal comes in. Research suggests that changing how we interpret emotional situations can affect how strongly we experience these emotions. So the goal isn't think positive, it's think more flexibly. 3. And finally, practice. This one sounds obvious, but it's probably the most important. If you want to learn a language, use it. If you want to get better at speaking, speak. If you want to become more comfortable doing something you have been avoiding, start practicing it in manageable steps. Because knowing what to do and actually doing it are two completely different things. Your brain learns from experience, and repetition gives your brain more opportunities to adapt. You don't need to completely transform yourself tomorrow. Start small, do something consistently, then do it again and again, and over time, something that once felt difficult can start to feel more familiar. So, can you really rewire your brain? Well, yes, but probably not in the way TikTok make it sound. You can think one new thought and permanently delete an old one. You can control every change that happens inside your brain. And neuroplasticity doesn't mean that you can solve every problem just by trying harder. But your brain can adapt. You can learn, you can practice, you can change your behavior. You can change how you interpret certain experiences. And all of these things can influence your nervous system over time. That is what makes neuroplasticity so fascinating. You are not completely stuck with the exact same version of yourself forever. Your brain is constantly responding to what you do, what you learn, and what you experience. So maybe the question isn't, can I completely rewire my brain? Maybe it's, what am I repeatedly teaching my brain? Because what you practice doesn't necessarily change overnight, but with time and repetition, some things can become easier. And that means you don't have to completely change your life today. Maybe just start with one thing, one habit, one response, one small action, and practice it. And that is all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and learned something new. I will see you in the next one. Bye!